Hey gang, Kevin here, Life22, and I know I'm 5 days late. I told you on Wednesday that I'd be here, right? Didn't I? I told you that. I'm sorry. We did our book review on the Tuesday, the 28th of February, and I said that I'd be here the very next day to do that. And a lot of things have come up, as always, right? Like when you have a busy life like I do, you have a tendency to stumble, right? Like you have a tendency to just be like, man, a day gets away from you. You got 4 kids, you got all these other things going on. So here I am. It's Sunday, it's the 5th of March, which it's only 5 days behind. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you still have 26 days to follow the life theme for the month. If you do follow it, a lot of people don't follow it, but to those who do, and if you were really that concerned, you'd message the channel, and most of you haven't. So, but it's the last 5 days have given me a lot of perspective on what we should do on the channel, which is March. Right? Like this month's theme is March. It's March for what? It's March for... So this month's theme and this last 5 days has given me quite a bit of perspective. Actually, today in particular has given me a lot of perspective on what we should march for. What should March be? March. We should march for values. I want you to march for values that you hold true. Values that mean something to you. Since the beginning of March, I've been fighting for something that means a lot to me. Literally, March 1st. I announced that on this channel that I was going to run for county legislator in my county. And I was going to do that. And everybody, literally, as of the 1st of March, pretended like I did not do it at all. Which is funny, because a lot of them called me like, oh, I'm going to tell everybody. I saw it on the channel. Yeah, everybody watches, but they selectively choose whether or not they're going to. And so there's been this huge, like, turmoil in my life where people have been saying, well, we didn't know you were running, and now all of a sudden, like, I'm the odd man out on my ballot. Which is kind of humorous to me, because I'm like the most vocal out of everybody local. No pun intended, no rhyme intended. But so it happens Wednesday. Nobody, like, barely anybody, like, knows. And I'm like, I mean, like, 2 of you called me to ask me what this rumor was that you heard or that you'd seen a YouTube video. Like, yeah, it's real. Like, and now all of a sudden you're pretending like it didn't happen. Like, what's going on? Whatever. Thursday rolls around, and I'm fighting and standing up for what I believe in, and I trying to talk to people and get kind of a rough idea of what's going on, and and I want to stand up for what I believe in. I want to stand up for values, and I want to say that in the last 5 years, if you've watched this channel at all, if you've watched me at all as a human being, and COVID is as devastating as it was for a lot of people. I mean, like, between being cruxed by fear, by whatever it was, like, I mean, the chips hit the table and the chips are down and people have to try to figure stuff out. I continued to hit the grindstone and go to work and do what I had to do. And I actually got into listening to books, Audible books on tape, on Audible, and listening to them day in, day out on a Raycon or some sort of listening device, and on my phone. And I would listen to podcasts, and I'd listen to mostly books. And the first year into COVID, I was 32 books deep, and I was just still doing my job. I was like, wow, I can listen to books and work. I've listened to 145 books since COVID started. in the last 5 years, so if you went back 7 years to when I first became an alderman, so if you look back 7 years, I feel that I've grown tremendously. And one of those things is that, like, when I first became an alderman, like, we had one child and we had another one on the way. And I had my adoptive daughter, and but you don't, like, until the kids start coming of age, right? They start asking you questions and things like that. You don't really start, like, you're a dad, but you don't, it's hard to explain. Like, I can't explain that to people. You're a dad, but you're not a dad. Like, you're this thing that is transitioning into being a father, right? Because most people write about their fathers after they're dead, or, after they've been raised. And it's like, but your father, when you were first born, when you couldn't speak these words, had no idea what the hell they were doing, right? Like, nobody, there's no parenting classes for there are parenting classes, but there's nothing that prepares you for, like, you specifically, because you have different life experiences than anybody else that's taking that class, right? So there's something that prepares you for being a father. And in the last 5 to 7 years, I've grown as a human being. I've listened to more. I've wanted to learn more than I've ever wanted to learn in my life, because I wanted to be a good dad. I wanted to be the father to my children that, like, I saw in my own father that he wasn't, or he couldn't be. Like, I picked up on these little things that he did, and there's things that innately in me that I see that were in my mother and in my father that I try to fight, because I see them, like, I see their flaws shining out in me, and I try to hold tight to the things that made my parents who they were, and made my parents strong as parents. And I'm trying to, like, hold on to what is a good feature and release that of youth and things that were created by the bad portions of my parents. The inadequacies, that, like, the things that I could see that they did that were not what I would consider the best, right? Like, the flaws that they didn't pick up on. So in the last 5 years, I've been listening to books. I've just been listening to a ton of books. And I'm sure if you watch the channel at all, in any semblance of you being a fan of the channel, you've seen that I've grown. I've been, if you follow the Twitter account, I post every book we've listened to. And then about halfway through listening to books, I started reviewing the books, because I want you to listen to those books. Because every book that I've listened to, even the bad ones, have changed my life to know what a bad book is, right? Like, to know what, like, nonsense is, to know what this is or that is. Like, because you shouldn't believe everything you read. You shouldn't believe everything you hear. So, I've grown as an individual from where I was when I started this channel. And it's something. It's something. If you've been here since the beginning, it's something it's a force to be reckoned with. And after a skirmish on Thursday, amongst local individuals that were trying to get me to just lay down and die by the wayside, which I will never do. If you've watched this channel at all, you know that I will never just lay down and just lay my sword to my side and die for any cause that is not worthy. And to like lay my sword down for other people's values that are not even likened to my own. I can't do it. So I've created quite a turmoil, and I'm out there and I'm knocking on doors and I'm getting petition signatures. And I'm talking to the people. And it's just one of those things that, like, man, I've been off the political radar almost for 2 years. Like, in terms of holding public office. And you don't see it. Like, you don't, until you go door to door. Like, I could tell every young, up and coming, aspiring person running for office, if you don't go door to door, it's not real. It's fake. You won an election, congratulations. If you didn't go door to door and talk to people, like, it's the thing that brings the best out in you, because you can realize, like, you're fighting for all these people. Like, every person whose door you're knocking on, you're fighting for them, and you have to learn, like, you have to fight for them whether they vote for you or not. You have to fight for them because that's their belief or not. And then you have to have concrete ideas on what your own beliefs are. And you have to tell them right to their face, right at these doors. Like, hey, listen, this is what I believe in, this is what I don't believe in. See, if you're going to knock on your own party, you tell them where your stance is on guns. You tell them what your stance is on pro-life versus pro-choice. You tell them what your stance is on all these things. And they have to take that or leave it. But guess what? You're the only MFer that's showing up at their door. Nobody else is showing up at their door. The world has forgotten them. They just bitch about stuff on Facebook. And nobody else is showing up at their door, so chances are you have their vote just because you showed up. And that's sad. That's depressing. You might not even have their vote. They might just vote anybody else but you. But you know what? You showed up at their door. And that's the only thing that I can say is like a noble thing when you're a politician. Is you showed up at their door, you listened to what they had to say. You talk to them. Like, there's nothing that makes you a better you than doing that. And by making yourself a better you, if you're running for public office, running for other people and standing for their values, or going to represent them in this great country, is the fact that you went and talked to them, at least understood where they were coming from. At least talk to them. Even if you don't agree with them, like, explain to me why you think that way. Boom. Like, there's something to it, man. It brings me joy. And I don't get to do it every day. Even when I was out of politics, I'd still pass the petitions, like, and I would talk to people, but you're not as, it's like being one of the trainers signing the balls after the baseball game. Like, you don't, like, this isn't like I'm just signing for my guy. Like, you're not the guy signing the, you know what I mean? You're not the guy that everybody wanted the signature from, but there's nothing means more to you than when you are the guy and you're signing that and you're passing it around, and it's just, there's something to it. And then meeting people and finding, like, you realize how great your community is, how many people are in your community that you've never met before. How many people, like, live their whole lives and, like, have to barely talk to their neighbors, let alone the house next to their neighbors? Like, how far does your neighborhood go, man? Like, that's, I love this. It brings me to life, and it makes me proud to be a father. It makes me proud to be a member of my community. It makes me proud to be a lot of things. And so what I'll tell you for this March, and we do a life theme, is, so if you're not familiar with the channel, we do a life theme every month. Every month we do a life theme to better you as a human being, to better ourselves as human beings. This, like, last month, January, let's jump back 2 months. January is jump into January. You jump into January with your New Year's resolution, and we're going to hold you to it the same way that you should be holding yourself to it, right? Be out there. Be a community. Hold yourself to something, right? Like, that's what we're trying to build here. We're trying to build that on the channel. When I started this channel, I had a couple drinks, and then I would, like, just grieve about stuff, and I was just making my way through the world. And now, I'm with you. We're together. This is what we're doing. We are building ourselves as a community, as people, right? Like, because that's what we do. We grow. I listened to something from Jordan Peterson the other day that talked about how people, if you watch 2-year-olds play with trucks, 2-year-olds aren't playing with trucks together. They're just playing with trucks individually. They just happen to both be playing with trucks. But by the age of 3, they're both integrating playing with trucks together. And by the age of 4, they got this down. So now they can play with others. And if you've screwed that up. And so, like, what I'm doing on this channel was where initially I didn't know what this channel was going to be. This channel was like a 2-year-old thing to me before I figured out what it was. And then I started integrating it into what it has to be. And I didn't know what that was. And now it's evolved. Now it's here. And for the last, 3, 4, 5 years, we've been pushing life theming on this channel. And every month we have Life22's life theme of the month to make you a better person. So we jump into January. We jump into January together with a life theme. We jump into January with your New Year's resolution, whatever it may be. Jump into it. Jump in. You need help? You need support? Call the channel. Text the channel. Message the channel say something in the comments. You got something to share? Let us know. I got friends that watch the channel. They message me directly. This is what we do. This is what we do. We message the channel. Like, we turn to this and we utilize this as a thing, right? It all started by watching a Joe Rogan Sober October. I come from a long line of friends and a long family generations of having drinking problems and whatever else. So Sober October, bring it on me, baby. I'm a 6-year champion now. 6, 5, regardless. I've added it 3 months out of the year. It's Sober October, and there's 2 others. Usually around the 1st of January, sometimes shortly after, because there's celebrations that happen, and then we start at 5th, 6th of January, and we go until the 5th or 6th of February. Sometime during the middle of the summer, because summer is a very trying time, and might as well stay sober, enjoy your family, right? That's what it's all about. We jump into Fit February. Most people want to be fit for January. Well, we're going to push it a second month. We're going to make you fit. We're going to make you eat more fish. Fish is very healthy for you. It's going to help with that. So we jump into those 2 different caveats. And you could pick one, you could pick the other, you could pick both. Now we're marching for something. We're marching for values. I'm telling you to march for your values. Or march for the values of your neighbor. It's always up for interpretation. Life is up for interpretation. So interpret it however you want. I'm here to give you a little bit of guidance. If you don't want to take it, you don't have to take it. I appreciate you listening. But, man, just going out there and just listening to how other people's values are. And then they ask you what your values are. And it has to give you, like, if you've never run for public office, I ask you to just to sit on your school board for a term, right? Like, sit on a local board, a zoning board, or whatever for a year. Get involved, because guess what? When you pass petitions, people are like, what does this candidate stand for? Because if you're the candidate, and you don't know what you stand for, you got some shit to figure out, man. I didn't know what I stood for. I kind of, like, took it, and then, like, the first couple houses, I would screw it up. Like, I don't know. You'd sound like Tim Taylor from The Tool Man, right? Like, home improvements. Like, I don't know what I stand for. I was new to being a dad. I didn't know what I stood for. and in public office, man. Like, people are asking you, what do you stand for? What are you doing? Now I know. I know what I stand for. I have values. And I stand by them now. Like, this is... It's something, man. It's... When you've got something, when the spinning rock we live on, when you can hold something that's not just doesn't just feel like sand flowing through the fingers of your hand, and you can hold it and say, "This is what I stand for," and not just like watch it deplete out of it because it's nothingness. Like, and you can hold something and grasp it and say, "This is what I stand for." At first, like literally, like at first, it was like this kid, that kid, my wife. Like, these are the things that I stand for. These are what I stand for. But that doesn't mean anything if you don't, like, take those pieces of, those grains of sand that are your life and bond them together and hold everything together tight. And it's awesome. So I would like to ask you to join us for March for Values, this 2023 March. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Every time I do one of these episodes now, man, I love it. It, like, I feel like I'm accomplishing something. And it might mean nothing to you, but it means something to me, and I guess that's all I care about, because I'm standing for something, right? I'm marching for something. I'm marching for my values. I ask you to march for yours. If they align, they align. If they don't, they don't. But at least if you stand for something, you won't fall for anything, right? So. We'll catch you guys next time on Life22. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'm sure there's going to be some out there. My perspective is changing. But continue to send your hate mail if you want to. If not, we'll see you next time on Life22. See you, gang.